In this video, we will be discussing three questions from the official College Board practice set practice test one. So these questions are from the third section, which is the mathematics section with the without calculator. So yeah, so the questions that we will be discussing in this video will be mainly related to like linear functions, or you will see the words y-intercept and slope being used quite often. And yeah, let's see. So let's read this. So this is a word problem, and the trick about word problems is that you need to actually, there's a whole lot of information inside the word problem with a, I mean, so you need to actually be able to extract the important mathematical information from the word problem and then use your knowledge to find the answer. So that's the trick behind word problems. It's just that you need to actually be able to decode the English in the word problem into the language of math, right? All right, let's see. So here it says that Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week she receives a batch of phones that needs repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated with the equation P equals 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left and D is the number of days she has worked that week. What is the meaning of 108 in the equation? So note that I actually did, while reading through the question, I did actually may underline certain parts of the question. So why did I do so? So inside this entire word jumble, we we need to actually make, you need to actually mark where the actual information is. So what is important in this is, so you have an equation which is P equals 108 minus 23D, and they're asking what's the purpose of 108 in this equation, right? So this whole scenario is about, like, at the beginning of the week there's a certain number of phones to be repaired, and after each day you have this amount of phones remaining to be repaired. For example, let's say at the end of the first day, end of day one, you have 108 minus 23 times 1 number of phones remaining, right? So you can just calculate this maybe. So this is just 108 minus 23, which is 85, right? So this is the amount that at the end of day 2 you have 108 minus 23 times 2, right? So which I think is so 62, right? So you have 62 fonts left. So likewise you can actually do this. So this is basically when d equals 1, and this is basically d equals 2, right? So you can actually work this out for any number of these. Of course you can't have negative number of fonts to be repaired. So the moment you move into something negative, you see that you need to stop because she has finished repairing all the fonts. So that's the idea here. So now they're asking what's the meaning of the value 108 in this equation. All right. So the meaning here is that let's say, So d, when you see that this is basically p, let me show this, p equals negative 23d plus 108. So this is something quite familiar to you, I guess. Is like negative 23x plus 108, right? So this is something like y equals mx plus b, right? Okay, so what is here? So m is usually called the slope. We'll talk about that later in a couple of minutes, but this is called the y-intercept, right? So the y-intercept, so 108 is the y-intercept. So this is basically the y-intercept, but that's just in math, right? Okay, mathematically we can call that the y-intercept, but this is basically a word problem and you are actually addressing a real life scenario, right? A real life case here. So let's see what this y-intercept looks like on a graph, right? So let's write, I would write, let's say x and y, but this is actually, you can also think of this as d and p because the original question gives you d and p, right? So let me just draw this in a different color. So you see that um, this slope is negative. It's a negative 23, so m is negative. So this will be in this direction. It will be falling, right? The graph would be a falling graph. And you know that the y-intercept over here is, this is the y-intercept where the graph actually crosses the y-axis, and that's why you call it the y-intercept. That is 1 over 108, right? So what does this mean? So this is where the graph crosses the y-axis, or in other words, where d is equal to 0, right? That is the amount of fonts remaining after, I mean, remaining at the beginning. So that's the idea. So that's d is the, so 108 is the fonts, is the number of fonts, she started up. Right, so so if you look at it in the bigger picture, so every day she prepares 23 fonts. Why? So you start out with 108, and then at the end of the day she has prepared these 23 fonts. So that's why you have 85 fonts remaining at the end of day 1. All right, so at the end of day 2, so you have finished day 1, day 2, so you have finished 2 days of work, which is you have prepared 2 times 23 number of uh, fonts, which is 46, and you need to subtract the number of fonts remaining from the number of fonts that you started out with, right? So that's how you get 60. So in the bigger picture, so that in the bigger picture, this is the idea behind this formula, right? Each day you repair 23, right? So um, so that's the idea behind this question. All right. So one thing I want to add about this is that, so usually I do that. So I always add some important concepts behind these questions. So regarding the slope, right? Negative 23, right? Okay. So each day, as the days go by, she repairs to negative 20. So that's exactly the idea of slope, right? You So the slope is basically, you may have learned this, rise over run, right? So this is like the y direction and this is the x direction, right? Okay, so if you go one day, like the run is kind of, in this scenario, it's just you go advance across one day, this direction, which means that the number of fonts remaining falls by negative 23. So the rise, I mean, the rise could be up or down. Here it's down, which we call a fall, right? So you see that how everything matches, right? The slope matches with how we viewed the problem in the first place. You prepare 23 fonts every day, so that's negative 23 in the y-axis, or the p value that they have given, right? Okay, so I hope this makes sense to you, right? All right, so maybe we can move on to the next question that I have prepared for today, which is also a related question. Okay, so more about slopes here. Okay, so we'll see what. So this is also word problem. Let's see. So h equals 3a plus 28 to 28.6. So this is also kind of, y equals mx plus b type of question, where you have y equals 3x plus 28.6, except that they have just changed y to h, a to x to a, things like that. So remember, in this case, this is the same type of questions that you have been used to so far. Pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age, right? In years between the ages of 25 and 2 and 5, right? So meaning that this is kind of a, like, kind of a really crude formula that actually estimates how how a student grows. I'm sorry, a baby would grow, right, in height. So based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? Okay, so based on what we had discussed earlier, so when you increase by one, say 1 year, the slope says that, okay, this guy would increase by 3. That's what it says. The slope is that, right? So basically, this is your rise and this is your run. You increase it by 1, you increase y by, if you increase x by 1, you increase y by 3, right? Let's say another thing. So let's say if you increase by 2 years, that is the run, you increase this by 2 times 3, rise, right? So this is the rise, so that would be 6. So you just multiply by 2. If you run across by 3 years, this would be 3 times 3, which is 9, right? As you see, it's really nice, right? Because the slope, I just write this again, which is rise over run. Okay. So you don't need any of this. 28.6, it doesn't have, this is the y-intercept, it doesn't play any role in the answer. It's just that you need to look at this. So this would be your answer. Every year the boy grows by 3 inches, right? All right. Okay, let's move on. So line in the xy plane passes through the origin and has a slope of 1 over 7. Which of the following points lies on the line? Okay, so how do we look at this? So the equation of this line should be y equals mx plus b type, right? Okay, so it directly says it has the slope of 1 over 7. So m is equal to 1 over 7. So no issue with that. So this is going to be 1 over 7x and something over here, right, which is the b value. Okay, so this says, so it doesn't actually say what the intercept is, but you need to see this part here. Passes through the origin. So what is the origin? So when you have this xy plane here, this is the origin, which is 0, 0, 0. X is 0, y is 0. That's where you call the origin, right? Origin is the place, the starting point of this entire story on the xy plane. You can think of it like that. So this is 0, 0, right? So what does this mean actually? When x is equal to 0, y is also 0, right? So in a sense, this is saying that the y-intercept is 0, because every time, I mean, how do you find the y-intercept? The y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. Okay, I'll just write this here as a point. Y-intercept is when uh, the line crosses, sorry, crosses the y-axis, i.e. x is equal to 0. So we know that this line somehow passes through this. It's a very bad line. Let me just write really. Okay, that's not a straight line. Just use, this is your line here, and it says that okay, when this line crosses the y-axis at 0, 0, meaning that the y-intercept is going to be 0, right? Alright, so which means that there's nothing here. Meaning that this was supposed to be 0 because the y-intercept is 0, though you can just keep it like that. Alright? Okay, so basically this is the equation of the line they're talking about. Okay, now which of the points lies on the line? Alright, so you see that, well, if you just multiply both sides by 7, a better way to say is that 7y equals x, meaning that the x value is 7 times the y value, right? Where does you see that? So over here, right? Oh, wait a minute. This should be it, sorry. This is the place you see that. You see that you multiply 2 by 7, you get 40. This is your, sorry, this is your y value and this is your x value. 14 comma 2. So this is going to be your answer. Right. Good. All right. Yeah, I hope you learned some concepts in relation to these set questions about linear equations, slope, y-intercept, rise over run. All right. So you will find the link to the entire practice test in the description below, and hope you have a good day. Plan. I will meet you in another video in the future. Bye.